Most parents think bedtime stress comes from yelling, but even calm, loving routines can quietly spike your child's cortisol. And if bedtime leaves you more exhausted than your child, even when you're doing everything right, this is for you. You dim the lights, you lower your voice, you give warnings. 5 more minutes. Okay, last one. And somehow, your child gets more wired, not sleepy. That moment feels confusing because you're doing everything right. You're not angry, you're not yelling, and bedtime still falls apart. That's because the problem isn't how calm you are, it's when certain bedtime mistakes happen, and why your child's brain reacts like sleep isn't safe yet. By the end of this video, you'll see the exact moment cortisol spikes, even in peaceful homes. Cortisol isn't a bad hormone, it's a survival hormone. It rises when the brain thinks, I need to stay alert. Here's the part most parents miss. Young children don't experience bedtime logically, they experience it neurologically. They're not thinking, oh, it's time to sleep. Their brain is asking, is everything settled? Is anything still changing? Do I need to stay on guard? So when bedtime includes confusion, negotiation, or unpredictability, even when it's gentle, the brain doesn't register calm. It registers uncertainty. And here's what that looks like in real life. Your child isn't thinking in words. Their body is scanning. Is mom done yet? Is dad still deciding? Could something change again? And every unanswered question keeps the system slightly on. This is why 2 children can have the same bedtime routine, same pajamas, same books, same parents, and one falls asleep in 5 minutes, while the other suddenly needs water, another hug, another question answered. That's not personality, that's nervous system timing, and uncertainty keeps cortisol high. Now let's look at the specific mistakes that cause this, most of them made by loving, patient parents. The first mistake happens before pajamas. It's changing the rules in real time. 5 more minutes? Okay, 2 more. Last one, for real this time. To an adult, this feels kind, flexible, empathetic. To a child's nervous system, it feels unsafe. Because safety doesn't come from flexibility, it comes from predictability. Every time the boundary shifts, the brain thinks, I need to stay alert. The rules aren't stable yet. That alertness, that's cortisol. Imagine this from your child's body. Bedtime is coming. Then it pauses, then it moves, then it almost lands, and shifts again. Even if you're kind, the nervous system doesn't experience kindness as safety. It experiences consistency as safety. This is why children often escalate after you give more time. Not because they want control, but because their brain learned, nothing is settled yet. Stay alert. And here's the part parents don't want to hear. This usually comes from trying to avoid conflict, but it actually creates more stress for the brain. Mistake number 2, explaining when the brain can't receive information. When a child is overtired, their prefrontal cortex is offline. That means no reasoning, no lessons, no just one more reminder. Even if your tone is calm, words at the wrong moment still stimulate the nervous system. Parents often say, but I'm being gentle. Gentle words can still overwhelm a flooded brain. Silence would regulate faster, but silence feels uncomfortable to adults. So we keep talking. Think about the last time you were exhausted and overwhelmed. Did a calm explanation help, or did you just want the noise to stop? Children are the same. When the brain is overtired, language doesn't soothe. It stimulates, even loving words. Regulation at this stage isn't about saying the right thing. It's about removing input, and cortisol stays high. Negotiation sends one clear message to the brain. This isn't settled yet. Every choice, every option, every question. Do you want this book or that one? Brush teeth now or after? Which pajamas? Decisions require cognitive effort. Cognitive effort raises cortisol. There is a way to end bedtime negotiations without power struggles or meltdowns. Most parents never learn it. They just keep adding choices and wondering why bedtime gets harder. What matters right now is this. If your child still has to decide, their nervous system is still working. And a working nervous system doesn't fall asleep. Bedtime should feel boring to the brain. Not cold, not disconnected, just boring. Boring equals safe. No decisions, no surprises, no thinking required. Think about how adults fall asleep. We don't want options. We want everything already decided. Children need the same signal, just earlier and much more clearly. This one surprises a lot of parents. Emotional connection is essential. But timing matters. Deep emotional conversations at bedtime. Why are you sad? What are you worried about? Open emotional loops. Once those loops open, the nervous system activates. Bedtime isn't for processing emotions. It's for signaling. Everything important is already handled. Emotions need space, just not right before sleep. This is where many gentle parents get stuck, because emotional connection is important. So they think, if I don't talk about it now, I'm missing my chance. But bedtime isn't the last window for connection. It's the last window for closure. Connection belongs earlier. Bedtime belongs to completion. Bedtime lectures feel harmless. Tomorrow, we'll do better. Next time you need to listen. We don't act like this. But teaching activates performance mode. And performance mode is not rest mode. The brain doesn't hear encouragement. It hears, I still need to improve. And as long as improvement is expected, cortisol stays elevated. Sleep happens when the brain feels done, not evaluated. There is a way to close the day without lectures, a way to give guidance earlier so bedtime can feel complete instead of corrective. Most parents don't realize they're keeping the day open by trying to wrap it up nicely. But unfinished days don't sleep well, even positive teaching. Tomorrow will be better. I know you can do better. Still signals there's something pending. And pending things keep the brain awake. Rest only comes when nothing is being asked of you, including growth. Regulation doesn't start at bedtime. It starts before the nervous system tips. When parents wait until the meltdown to slow things down, the brain is already flooded. Bedtime success is decided 30 to 60 minutes earlier. By the time pajamas are on, you're not fixing regulation, you're revealing it. Most bedtime problems don't start at bedtime. They start after dinner, or after screens, or after a rushed transition. By the time pajamas are on, you're not shaping sleep. You're seeing the result of the last hour. A quiet child isn't always a calm child. Freezing, zoning out, or sudden stillness can be a stress response. True calm looks boring. Slow movements, minimal talking, no urgency. If bedtime feels emotionally intense, even quietly, cortisol is still involved. Calm is slow. Calm is quiet without tension. Calm doesn't feel fragile. If bedtime feels like, don't say anything or we'll ruin it, that's not calm. That's suppression. None of these mistakes mean you're doing bedtime wrong. They mean you're parenting with empathy, without being taught how the nervous system works. Sleep isn't taught, it's allowed. And the brain only allows sleep when it feels predictability, closure, and safety. The goal of bedtime isn't perfect behavior, it's nervous system permission. Permission to shut down, permission to stop scanning, permission to rest. And that permission comes from predictability, emotional closure, and timing, not from being softer or calmer in the moment. The biggest bedtime shift isn't being calmer, it's being earlier, simpler, and more predictable. If this video changed the way you see bedtime, comment bedtime. And if you're ready to move from understanding to consistency, you'll find the link below.